He helped build Facebook, but what he saw disturbed him. Not innovation, not progress, but obsession. The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads. That's what Jeff Hammerbacher said before walking away. This isn't just a critique of social media. It's a warning about how we've redefined talent, purpose, and even success itself. In this video, we'll unpack that quote, what it meant, what it exposed, and why it might be the most brutally honest thing ever said about Silicon Valley. Let's go back to the early 2000s. Silicon Valley still had that garage door up energy. Idealistic, a little chaotic, but full of hope. Tech wasn't just an industry, it was a mission. The internet would democratize knowledge. Social platforms would connect humanity. Startups weren't chasing ad dollars. They were chasing meaning. Facebook launched in this spirit. Not just a social network, but a promise. College kids used it to connect. The mood was wide-eyed, exploratory, and bold. If you were brilliant and young, this was where you went to build the future. Silicon Valley believed it was curing the world's inefficiencies. And for a while, it felt like it was. Jeff Hammerbacher was one of those young minds. He joined Facebook in 2006, right out of Harvard, as one of their first data scientists. Back then, the title barely existed, but Facebook had tons of data and needed someone to make sense of it. To Hammerbacher, it felt like a front row seat to history. The internet was evolving fast, and Facebook was at the heart of it. He wasn't just crunching numbers. He was helping shape how a generation connected, expressed themselves, and discovered the world. It felt meaningful. He was part of something bigger than a company. It felt like a revolution in how people lived. Inside Facebook, data wasn't just information. It was revelation. Who people talked to, what they clicked, how long they lingered, all of it told a story. With enough data, the thinking went, you could understand human behavior at scale. It was exhilarating. The idea wasn't surveillance, at least not yet. It was insight, prediction, progress. You could optimize the user experience, personalize everything, make the internet feel like it truly knew you. Facebook was assembling a mirror of humanity, and for a while the ambition still felt noble. A smarter, more connected society through better tools. But over time, the questions changed. It was no longer, what can we learn about people? It became, how can we get them to stay? Clicks became the new currency, attention the new asset, and data, once a tool for understanding, was now used to design better hooks. Everything was A/B tested, engineered for stickiness. Features were optimized not to help users, but to keep them scrolling. The mission blurred. Growth became its own goal. Internally, the conversation had shifted, not about improving lives, but increasing metrics. And quietly, a deeper unease began to grow among some of those early idealists. Hammerbacher started to see it clearly. The smartest minds of his generation weren't solving big problems. They were figuring out how to make people click more ads. What had begun as a dream of progress now felt like psychological manipulation. Algorithms weren't serving users. They were shaping them, nudging behavior, stretching screen time, dulling attention. The systems they built worked, but the outcome felt hollow. And for Hammerbacher, that was the breaking point. He left Facebook and later delivered a now famous quote, "The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads." It wasn't just criticism, it was a reckoning. In 2010, Jeff Hammerbacher walked away from Facebook. He had helped build its data science division, seen the inside of its growth machine, and then made a decision most in tech still find unthinkable. He quit. In interviews, he offered a simple but piercing explanation. The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads. He didn't say it with irony. He said it as a warning. Hammerbacher had joined Facebook to help build something meaningful, but what he witnessed was a system turning brilliant minds toward optimizing engagement for advertisers. The quote wasn't just personal disillusionment, it marked the moment when Silicon Valley's dream began to fracture. That quote stuck because it captured a quiet truth so few wanted to say out loud. Beneath its bluntness is a deeper unease, that we've taken an enormous pool of intelligence and pointed it at the wrong target. Hammerbacher wasn't criticizing ads in isolation. He was calling out a system that rewards manipulation over progress. It asks, Why are so many of our smartest engineers focused on maximizing clicks instead of fixing bigger problems? There's a kind of ethical inversion here. Brilliance being used not to elevate society, but to better predict when someone might tap a screen. It's not just about ads. It's about what we value. When a society sends its best thinkers, people trained in physics, neuroscience, or math, into the business of behavioral nudging, it says something about what that society prioritizes. The opportunity cost is staggering. These same minds could be advancing clean energy, rethinking public health, or building new models for education. Instead, they're writing code that fine-tunes dopamine loops. The issue isn't that advertising exists, it's that we've made it the primary engine of innovation. Talent doesn't just go where the money is, it follows where success is defined. And increasingly, that definition has narrowed to growth, monetization, and engagement. Silicon Valley didn't start out obsessed with advertising. Early tech leaders spoke in big, sometimes utopian terms. Empowering individuals, decentralizing information, changing the world. But once platforms like Google and Facebook discovered that attention could be quantified and sold, everything changed. The original vision got repackaged into quarterly growth charts. Ad revenue became the oxygen. And slowly, even products meant to serve users began to serve advertisers first. The Valley didn't become evil overnight, it just followed the incentives. And in doing so, it traded its ambition to reshape the world for an obsession with keeping people glued to screens. To understand how that happened, you have to look at the business model. Unlike hardware companies that sell products, platforms like Facebook and Google sell audiences. The product is free because the user is not the customer. The advertiser is. And the more time users spend on a platform, the more ads they can be shown, the more data they produce, and the more valuable they become. Attention isn't just part of the model. It is the model. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. Design choices are made not for user well-being, but to increase time spent and deepen engagement. That's where profit lives, in the margins of your attention. Advertising isn't a side effect. It's the central nervous system. In 2021, 97% of Facebook's revenue came from ads. Every tweak to the algorithm, every redesign of the interface, every push notification is shaped by that reality. The machine is optimized not for truth, not for community, not even for entertainment, but for engagement. Because engagement is what drives ad impressions, and ad impressions drive revenue. Over time, this logic seeps into everything. What stories are shown, what posts are prioritized, what behaviors are rewarded. The more you scroll, the more you see. And the more you see, the more Facebook wins. To maximize ad revenue, platforms need time. Your time. Every second you spend on an app is a data point, an opportunity to serve an ad, a step toward revenue. That's why some of the brightest engineers don't work on building new worlds or solving hard scientific problems. They work on keeping you from leaving the screen. Retention isn't just a metric, it's the North Star. Features like infinite scroll, autoplay, and streaks aren't accidental. They're engineered to keep you engaged, often subconsciously. And when your attention becomes the commodity, everything else, even your well-being, becomes secondary to holding it. This is where psychology merges with product design. Behind every like button, every vibration, every red badge on your phone, there are teams applying behavioral science to maximize your interaction. Techniques that once lived in casinos, variable rewards, intermittent reinforcement, are now standard in app development. It's not evil masterminds pulling strings. It's data-driven, performance-tested nudges built by brilliant minds. But the result's the same. A system that learns your habits and subtly reshapes them. It doesn't ask what you want. It steers you toward what keeps you clicking. It's manipulation dressed up as personalization. Some of the loudest alarms have come from inside the building. Chamath Palihapitiya, once a key player in Facebook's growth, later said, "We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric." It wasn't a media hit piece. It was an insider reckoning. He described how dopamine loops were engineered into the platform, how short-term engagement came at the cost of long-term health, social, mental, even political. These aren't fringe views anymore. More and more former tech executives are stepping forward, not to trash tech, but to reckon with what they helped create. When the architects begin to doubt the structure, we should listen. Hammerbacher's quote hit differently. It wasn't polished and it wasn't softened. It was blunt. The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads. No dressing it up in innovation or progress, just a raw observation from someone who had seen too much from the inside. That level of honesty is rare, especially in an industry built on hype, disruption, and next big thing optimism. His words cut through the noise because they weren't bitter. They were tired. Tired of the gap between potential and purpose, between what tech could be and what it had become. After Facebook, Hammerbacher didn't jump to the next unicorn startup. He turned to biotech. His reasoning was simple. He wanted to work on something that mattered, something with long-term consequences. It's not that data science stopped being interesting to him. It's that the context changed. Attention games felt shallow. Medicine, biology, those were areas where data could save lives. It begs a larger question. In an economy obsessed with growth and valuation, how do we define meaningful work? Hammerbacher made a quiet but powerful shift, from clicks to care, from engagement to healing. Here's where the story deepens. None of this happens in a vacuum. The smartest minds go where the money flows. And venture capital doesn't fund what's meaningful. It funds what scales. That often means platforms, subscriptions, engagement loops, addiction, not depth, profitability, not purpose. It's not that founders don't want to change the world, it's that the funding system rewards stickiness more than substance. Scalable solutions rise. Slower, more essential work in education, climate, healthcare often struggles to attract capital. So talent follows incentives. And slowly, we build a world optimized not for meaning, but for monetization. It's easy to blame individuals and to say smart people sold out. But most of the time, they're just following the path that's been paved for them. The system rewards what scales, what performs, what shows up in a quarterly report. A young engineer burdened with student debt is more likely to join a fast-growing startup than take a risk on unproven social impact work. The incentives are clear, and they're reinforced constantly. Fast growth, big exits, media praise. Purpose sounds good in a keynote. Performance gets you paid. In that environment, even the best intentions can quietly bend toward what's rewarded most. And then we celebrate the outcomes. We romanticize disruption as if every new app is a revolution. Unicorn startups get magazine covers. Founders are called visionaries, even when the product is just a slightly better ad network or a new way to monetize attention. We rarely pause to ask, what's actually being disrupted? And to what end? The celebration often outpaces the consequence. Scale becomes the story, not substance. We treat rapid user growth as success without questioning whether the thing growing is actually good for anyone. It's not that we admire innovation. We admire what gets headlines and hockey stick charts. This isn't just about tech companies. It's a cultural lens. We've inherited a framework where success means visible output, metrics, reach, followers, funding rounds, but none of those necessarily equal value. A platform can reach billions and still erode the public good. A product can be addictive and still win design awards. We measure intelligence by what it builds, not what it changes. The question we rarely ask is, does it make life better? For whom? And at what cost? If we don't redefine success, we'll keep elevating systems that are optimized for engagement over everything else, including ethics. The price of this narrow focus is hard to see, because it's the road not taken. Every hour a brilliant developer spends perfecting a recommendation algorithm is an hour not spent on climate modeling, clean water, or rare disease research. Every brain pulled into ad tech is one not building tools for underserved schools. The opportunity cost is invisible, but it's massive. It shows up in the problems we haven't solved, the lives we could have saved but didn't. And as the gap between urgent needs and talent allocation grows, the irony becomes harder to ignore. The smarter we get, the more misdirected we become. Hammerbacher's quote endures because it reveals more than just a company's strategy. It reflects a culture's values. He wasn't just talking about engineers, he was talking about us, about the forces we idolize, the rewards we offer, the stories we tell about what it means to make it. Tech didn't invent this dynamic, it amplified it. If we reward speed over depth, distraction over substance, we shouldn't be surprised when talent flows accordingly. Hammerbucker held up a mirror, and the reflection wasn't flattering, because the systems he walked away from were built, funded, and celebrated by all of us. So, what does it say about our world when the best minds design autoplay features, but not faster diagnostics? When we can predict your next purchase down to the second, but still miss early signs of cancer? That's not a lack of intelligence, it's a crisis of direction. Our tools are powerful, our data is vast, our talent is deep. But if it's pointed at maximizing clicks instead of minimizing suffering, what are we really optimizing for? These aren't just business decisions, they're moral ones. The future isn't just shaped by what we can build, it's shaped by what we choose to build. What if we redefined what it means to make it? What if success wasn't measured by valuation, virality, or visibility, but by the actual value created for people's lives? Imagine a version of Silicon Valley where the primary metric isn't retention, but contribution. Not how many hours users stay hooked, but how many problems a product actually solves. That kind of success is harder to quantify and it rarely goes viral, but it lasts. Hammerbucker's quote forces us to question the systems we celebrate. Because if the end goal is just attention and growth, then maybe it's time we start asking, growth toward what? There are signs of a shift, even if they're small. Engineers leaving Meta to join climate tech startups. Data scientists using AI to track disease outbreaks instead of optimize ad targeting. Designers moving into public interest tech trying to bring dignity to digital services. These stories rarely make headlines, but they're happening. People who once built the attention economy are slowly choosing to build something else, something messier, more meaningful, less scalable. They're still the exception, not the norm. But they're showing us a different kind of ambition, one that doesn't rely on eyeballs but on outcomes. But if we want real change, individual choices aren't enough. We have to shift the incentives. That means funding companies that tackle real problems, even if the path to profit is slower. It means rethinking how we reward innovation, not just by speed, but by depth. Public policy, education, media, investment, they all play a role. It's easy to blame tech workers for building the wrong things, but the truth is, we as a society reward what's fast, addictive, and profitable. Until that changes, most talent will keep flowing in the same direction. Systems drive behavior, and right now our system rewards the wrong things. Still, systems are made up of choices, and those choices are ours. What problems do we choose to work on? What trade-offs do we accept? Whether we're engineers, investors, users, or citizens, we all play a part. The tools we build reflect our values. So do the careers we pursue, the companies we support, the ideas we amplify. Personal responsibility doesn't mean carrying the weight of the world. It means not pretending we're just passengers. Hammerbucker looked around and asked a simple but radical question. Is this really the best we can do with our minds? And if not, then why are we doing it? Hammerbucker didn't burn it all down. He didn't deliver a takedown TED Talk or launch an expose. He just left quietly and started building somewhere else. That's what makes his story so powerful. It wasn't reactive. It was intentional. He didn't rage against the system. He stepped outside it and started shaping a different one. Conscious rebuilding isn't glamorous. It doesn't get press, but it's where real change starts. Not with rejection, but redirection. The goal isn't to shame those working in tech, it's to remind them you can always choose where to aim your intelligence. And sometimes the most revolutionary move is to walk away and build anew. Because if the best minds are being wasted, maybe it's time to take them back. Not by force, not through guilt, but by invitation. By showing that brilliance doesn't have to be monetized to matter. That there are hard problems worth solving, even if they don't trend. What if the next generation of coders, designers, and scientists believed that curing disease was more exciting than curating content? That helping a community thrive was more meaningful than boosting engagement rates? Talent isn't gone, it's just misdirected. The challenge now isn't to condemn what's been built, but to imagine what else is possible when we use our minds for more than just clicks. You may not be in Silicon Valley, but you live in the world it shaped. You use the tools it built. You feel the consequences of what it values. This isn't just a tech problem, it's a human one. The next time you hear a startup pitch or scroll your feed or celebrate a new disruptor, ask yourself, is this solving a problem or just selling me more ads? Success is ours to define. Let's not waste the best minds we've got. If this made you think differently about where talent goes and what it's used for, consider subscribing. We're building a space for deeper questions, not just louder answers. Like the video if it resonated, and share your thoughts below. Where do you think the line is between innovation and exploitation? Have you ever felt pressured to aim your skills at something that didn't sit right with you? And if you're interested in how powerful ideas get twisted, check out the previous video. It dives into the real story behind "fake it till you make it," and how that one phrase fueled some of the biggest frauds in startup history.